Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Ray Hernandez, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Bag. Joined tonight, as always, Beyond the Bag, behind the mat, you know? Oh, that's good. That's good.
All right, we got that out of the way.
Got it out of the way.
Same energy, though, please.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is Ray Hernandez, and I'm joined tonight with my co-host, JohnnyIce, for another episode of Behind the Bag. Johnny, what's going on, my friend?
Well, we've arrived at Super Bowl weekend. By the time you guys are listening to this, the Super Bowl will be over. We'll either be having discussions about the next GOAT, the future GOAT, the current GOAT, all those farm animals. So super exciting. Super exciting. But, you know, no Super Bowl party this year. Pandemic status.
But we've got boxes for dogs.
We've got boxes. Unfortunately, we can't shill them on this episode. It'll be too late. But hopefully, you know, either of us is counting our money on by the time this airs, right? And giving to a good cause.
Absolutely. Fidelco Guide Dogs. It's been an awesome nonprofit. So, you know, go out of your way and check them out. It's a really cool thing. Speaking of really cool thing, my God, John, what a week it's been, huh?
There is always so much going on during the week that why bother planning an episode? Because we are hot stove. We're in February finally. We could say we're in February, and it's hot stove central, and there is so much to report, good, bad, and indifferent. So everything in between.
Yeah, definitely. But before we get to that, and before we get to the core of our episode, where we're going to look back at the 2000 postseason, you know, Friday night, what'd you have tonight? Got to keep it moving.
I know. We're staying in tonight. We're staying in with a little ravioli action.
The last 400
That's
days,
right. That's right. What's different about that? But you know what? Usually you can look forward to a nice Super Bowl party. I was going to ask Raven, what's your go-to to bring to a Super Bowl party? What are you known for?
Oh man, what am I known for? You know, the buffalo chicken balls are pretty good.
Oh, the buffalo chicken balls. Yeah. Yes. Okay. All right.
Yeah. You got to differentiate yourself, you know,
yeah.
But we keep it healthy with nice little ground chicken, put some like chopped carrots in there, a little panko, some eggs, a little garlic powder, bake those bad boys up and put them in a nice little Frank's Red Hot sauce. You're good to go.
Well, yeah. When I see you in 2025, I look forward to the buffalo balls.
Well, you know, those balls, man, they'll get you.
They'll still be hot. I can tell you that much.
Absolutely.
You know, it's interesting because I usually go one step above the plates and napkins. The one step above. I bring chips and by the boatload though. We could have 8 people and I'll bring 16 bags of chips because, you know, you don't want to look like you're mailing it in, right?
Yeah,
by bringing bagged items. So I'll bring about 16 bag of chips and you know, shout out to our friend who we had nameless last episode. We could mention Ant because he usually drives me to those Super Bowl parties, and there's only room for like one of his children, and the rest is my potato chips. So if you're looking for potato chips,
priorities, we like it.
Yeah,
we like it.
That's right.
You know, for folks that are listening, you know, like I said, John and I have been friends for almost 25, 26 years now. You know, back in the day, he used to throw killer New Year's Eve parties. We had the crudité out there. I don't remember the potato chips. I do remember the TGIF Fridays like mudslides though.
Oh yeah, mudslides where you just added the additional Hershey syrup and additional rum. Little did you know that there was rum already in the mix.
But thankfully, we were rookies.
Yeah, and thankfully it was only 35 millimeter film back then. Nothing digital. So everything we have is, you know, mere PG scans available for the masses to consume.
We like that. Well, you know, what we don't like, I'm just going to, you know, get right to the elephant in the room. You know, we are a couple hours removed from Trevor Bauer. You know, first of all, Jack Bauer, 100% way better than Trevor Bauer. Always has been, always will be. But not going to lie, he played the Mets.
Yeah, he did what Carlos Beltran tried to do and wasn't successful in. And unfortunately, poor Carlos had to stay his length of his contract pretty much with the Mets while trying to parlay a deal with the Yankees. But Bauer and his agent, who I've reached out to to appear on our podcast, hey, good for them. They parlayed. They dangled the Mets deal into a better deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
I will say this. I'm happy that he is not a Met. I think he's a head case. I think he winning the Cy Young, shortened season, NL Central, where you're playing, lesser competition, let's say. I mean, let's be honest, especially in a short season. I don't know that he was worth $40 million. Maybe it'll come back to bite us, but I'm actually okay.
Yeah, I am too, and I think it's very rare that such a high contract kind of, the player is productive all the way through. So, it wasn't like a 5-year deal or anything like that, but it's still a lot of money that if he gets off to an 0-5 start in New York or something like that, there's probably no turning back.
He's the next Bobby Bonilla,
Yeah.
Bonilla there, I just, I don't see it. I think we said it earlier. Sometimes the best moves are the ones that you don't make. It stings because we got played, and I think that's actually hurts more. But we'll see what happens in the NLCS later this year.
Oh, there you go.
You heard it here first.
Bold prediction. See you there, LA.
I'll bring my Buffalo Balls.
Yeah, exactly. We are going to watch it together with Buffalo Balls. Absolutely. So also in the news this week, was it this week, the Mets acquiring Jordan Yamamoto?
Yes.
Earlier this week?
Yeah. Yes. It feels like ages ago. I actually like that deal too. It's depth. But I also think, the Mets and the Hawaiian pitchers, we tend to do really well. With Sid and Darling, Tyler Yates didn't exactly work out for us, but I have faith in Mr. Jordan Yamamoto. I think he'll be a good, call-up type pitcher. But if we needed a fifth, it's certainly better than going to Corey Oswald or name your pick of AAA starters.
Yes, I think what we've learned over the past few seasons is our wealth of starting pitching is but an injury or 3 away from getting AAA pitchers in 4th or 5th slots in the rotation. So definitely having serviceable guys there is there's no problem with that. You could always find somewhere for them to go. Plus, you and I kind of kicked around what we're doing with Lugo, who's our closer, all this stuff. So flexibility is the best there.
Yeah, and that's actually another reason why I think, not having Bauer, I think is actually it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Mets Twitter. I promise it's going to be okay.
What's not okay could be the Mets hiring practices under Sandy Alderson.
Yes.
I don't know here. This past week, the Mickey Callaway bombshell. Another notch.
I don't even know what to say to that. I just, first of all, also a creep. And I'm just going to reiterate it. I went on this rant, 2 episodes ago, and I'm going to say it again. Like, there is no place for this garbage, and that's what it is. Garbage. Enough. I just, and in many ways, it's the cherry on the cake for Mickey Callaway because, questionable decisions on the field and obviously very questionable decisions off the field.
Well, speaking of things that Ray has had enough of, did you know that Chipper Jones is back with the Atlanta Braves?
No, I did not. Talk about coming out of left field.
Literally left field and a little bit of third base. We have Chipper Jones is back with Atlanta as a hitting advisor. I don't want him anywhere near baseball, but they'll now go on to win the division by 15 games.
Well, the good news is then we don't have to listen to Chipper commentate on any Met games because he certainly trolled us last year with his images on the third base side of Citi Field.
Maybe he'll get a hamster that he'll name City or something like that, so that it could come full circle.
Speaking of coming full circle, I think it's time to rewind the clock. What do you say?
Let's bring it back to right after the Mercury Mets. How does that sound?
I like it. I like it. So we are going to do a watch along, folks. This isn't going to necessarily make sense unless you actually go to your YouTube machine, your Google machine, go into YouTube, and you type in. Let's see what we type in here. We're actually going to put the address in this description too, but it's Mets 2000 postseason recap.
Yeah, Mets. we're gonna depend on you guys being able to spell Mets, the number 2000 postseason and recap. And if
this
you
is
fall
a
on something else,
clip. Yes,
we are not responsible.
This is a 13-minute clip that goes through the highlights of the 2000 run, postseason run. And we'll stop as we watch along. We'll comment, and we'll also stop the tape, if you will. Oh man, I just aged myself. The tape. We'll stop the clip and talk and comment a little bit along the way. 2000, what a wonderful year, man. That it was interesting. The 99 team, I actually thought that 99 team probably, it would have been almost like the 69 Mets, because it was such a miracle for them to get to the playoffs. They were left for dead, had no path to the playoffs. I think with like 8 games left, it just took everything that could have gone right for the Mets had to go right, and it happened. Last game of the season, they tie it. It forces a 1-game wild card against the Reds. Mets go on the playoffs. Kenny Rogers screws us with the walk.
That was the extra innings, Kenny Rogers?
That was the extra innings, Kenny Rogers. And so going into the 2000 season, it was like, how do we recover from that? And I don't know. For me, I can say it. I'm sure you probably have the same feeling. I mean, we were high school seniors. It was like, I don't know. It just felt like this was going to be the year. I mean, we say that every year, but there was something about starting the season. First of all, they started the season in Japan. Mm-hmm. That was pretty wild, watching a game before going to school. Agbayani hits the grand slam, in that first game to kind of take him off, off and running a little bit. But it was just a weird feeling too, because for me personally, anyway, you're 3 months away from graduating high school. Life is kind of changing a little bit. You're thinking about the future, but the Mets are there, that's the one constant amongst all the change. And I think it was probably that June Piazza game where they came back and scored 10 in the 8th, where you started to, for me, I just was like, they might actually go on a run here. That this might be the year that they make the World Series and win it.
Yeah, it was a struggle for me because I loved that 99 team, mm-hmm. that best infield ever team. I loved that team. So 2000, especially if you look at it talent-wise and things like that, it doesn't stand out as much as 99. But definitely it's just, it starts rolling along and you're like, this could happen.
Yeah.
When we fast forward to the World Series and we're both freshmen in college when those are going on, there's great stories around those games and watching those games out. Especially, I was out in Manhattan watching those games, but definitely, you want to be celebrating your favorite team on a run at this time of your life. That's the most important time to have a team that's actually excelling.
Yeah, no, definitely. I kick myself to this day because the Mets would go on to win the wild card in the 2000 season. Very disappointing in many ways because the club really felt like they should have been in first place. The Braves that year were in first place. No surprise there. The night that they won the wild card, so the night before they lost to the Braves, so the Braves clinched the NL East. The night that they won the wild card, Quinnipiac had like a trip for freshmen, kind of like a mixer, if you will, a night at Shea Stadium. Yeah. And the tickets were like, I don't know, maybe like the first week of September they went on sale. And I was like, I'm not going to go. Who wants to go to a Wednesday game in September? It's, woohoo. I could hang out and, mix away in my dorm room. And that was the night that the Mets won the wild card. So to this day, I have yet to see, be at a game where we've clinched something. And I don't know. It would have been cool to be there that night.
I think the one thing for me that stands out about, especially the 2000 playoffs, and is kind of just that cloud over the head of that whole season, is we never had to beat the Braves in the playoffs. And it's kind of that, anomaly of, okay, we got to the World Series, but we didn't have to beat the Braves to get there. And then
take it and run, baby. Take it and run.
I won't. No spoilers for 2001. It was only 19 years ago or 20 years ago, but I think 2001 is a very interesting story coming out of 9/11 and all those things in that run. And there's always been a debate about 2001 about what was the big killer for us? Was it the bullpen that put it out? Was it Brian Jordan? Things like that. Yeah. So I know that's another future episode. But freshman year of college, we were enjoying it in 2000.
So let's roll to this tape. This clip, 13 minutes, 24 seconds. That's the segment. That's the length of the segment. It's going to start off with game 2 of the 2000 NLDS. I think we have to look back at game 1 to kind of set the context here. The Mets lost to the Giants. The Giants were the favorites, if I'm not mistaken. I think they had won like 100 and change. And they took care of business against the Mets that game 1. Derek Bell, I think the big play there is Derek Bell gets hurt, hurts his ankle, and so he is done for the playoffs. In game 1, Daryl Hamilton takes over in right field, and the Mets, they go on to lose. But that injury actually plays a big role because it gives Timo Perez more play time because of what, because they were short. And Timo that year was unbelievable in that playoff run.
Yeah, and as listeners of this podcast, you'll know that I love that style player of Timo Perez. I love the speedy center fielder, the table setter. So aside from the way he would jump and catch balls for clinching games, I was a big fan of Timo Perez all the way around.
So we set the stage here before we hit play. I know this is like the third time I'm saying it, but there's just so much that goes into this.
He's going to hit play at some point.
Yeah, I will hit play, but I think it's important to understand, once again, we never should have even been in this spot. Armando Benitez goes on to blow the save. Surprise, surprise. And that takes us to extra innings. I don't have it in front of me, but I want to say that it was either Jay Payton or Timo, but someone gets a double. May have been Alfonso that gets the single. So bottom line is the Mets go ahead, top of the 10th. So they get to the bottom of the 10th. Armando's out. They bring in John Franco. And as we've talked about earlier in earlier episodes, get your Rolaids ready. And now he's got to face Barry Bonds with, I think, 2 out and runners on base. So let's hit play.
Let's hit play. We've already skipped our ads, I think is what we could say. Right? All right, here we go. Barry Bonds stepping up. He's got his signature cross hanging down from 0 there.
I mean, yeah, he gets him on a curveball to end the game, and I mean, and you can see the
Franco with the left-right punch to Piazza over there,
and that was big to get the curveball. Got him looking. I mean, look at that, Franco. I see Todd Pratt, Dennis Cook.
That's who that was. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Franco is the most excited he's been in 15 years.
He shocked him though. Like that was was not expected. That pitch was like a curveball.
Yeah, it went from basically Bond's inside shoulder to the inside corner of the plate. And there's friend of the show, Bobby Valentine, just by the way.
Yes. Look, Rick White. All right, we're gonna hit pause now because they're gonna go to game 3. That was huge because think about it. You lost the first game, and NLDS is best of 5. So Mets are looking at going 0-2 if they lose this game. And again, Benitez blowing the save very easily could have been the nail in the coffin. But they the resiliency of this team bounced back to take the lead, and Franco gets it done.
Now, just for reference, Barry Bonds' on-base percentage in the year 2000 was 440.
But on top of that, though, let's for full perspective, though, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think the biggest thing about that was that he was a playoff choke artist. I mean, that was the rub on him, was he couldn't get the big hit. He couldn't get the big hit for all that he did in the regular season. And so for him to make the last out in game 2 just only fuels that, that aura, if you will.
I think as a Giants fan, you're probably feeling pretty good with Barry Bonds coming up against John Franco.
Absolutely. For context, I'm just looking it up actually right now. So, for the whole playoff series, he batted 176. And so again, Barry just not able to do it in the postseason. In the regular season, he was a 300 hitter, 49 home runs, whether there was juice or not, well, TBD. I mean, that's not who you want to face if you're John Franco. And if you're a Met fan sitting down there watching that, you're like, oh boy.
Yeah. As a Met fan, you're holding your breath as much as possible.
So we hit play a game. We're going to get to game 3. Again, let's set the stage here because this particular clip is going to go by fast. It's a Saturday night, at Shea. Series tied 1-1. I think they're definitely in extra innings here. And I remember this game clearly, vividly for a couple of reasons. One, going home for the weekend from school, getting laundry done and whatnot, you always remember that. 2, I was watching this game at home by myself. I don't know where my parents were, but I made the cardinal sin. I will admit it, 25 years later, we were on commercial, so I flipped the channels. And when I went back to Fox 5, Benny Agbayani was at home plate with the entire crowd. So
I thought that would have never happened to you, Raymond. I'm shocked.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I'll admit it. It stays with me forever. Let's hit play so I could relive what I did not see live 20 years ago.
All right, here we go. Crushed. That's where we were sitting at those the last game, the last 2 games at Shea.
Yeah.
Those are our seats over there.
How about Benny Agbayani, man? He was clutch.
2000 was Benny Agbayani's best year. I had looked it up because he seemed like he had maybe 5 decent years in the league, and that was it.
Yeah.
2000 was his best year.
Look at the excited. Look at him jumping around. I want to be Jim. Look at Jim, 00.
A quick design reference. If you look at those jerseys, they have the stroke and the drop shadow on the letters. I think that was limited for those years that they used the black jersey. There's Barry Bonds. Oh, so long.
All right, and then we hit
pause.
pause.
All right, we'll pause that. Yeah.
That was wild. And actually, as I saw the players jumping around, I don't know. I thought they were going to clinch that. We get to game 4 Sunday afternoon. Those Sunday matinee games, looking back at this, is very weird playoff schedule 20 years ago, because I don't remember many nowadays. I don't remember many 4:00 starts on a Sunday for a postseason game.
No, I don't think it was revolved around the TV schedule as much as it does nowadays. And let me say, I like 5-game series, and I know a lot of other sports don't have them, but there's something about a 5-game series that just gives a little more
because anything can happen. Anything can happen. Absolutely. So do you remember this game? Because I remember, leaving my house in Bronxville, New York / Yonkers. I was on the border. So, I don't know. I went to Yonkers Public Schools, but I always used the Bronxville PO there.
Folks not from New York, that's the old mailing address versus school address situation there. Look into it before you buy a house.
Yes. But I remember getting in my 96 Mitsubishi Galant, leaving the house early to get up to Quinnipiac so I could get settled in nice, and watch the game. Now, my roommates at the time, no one was a Met fan, so a very lonely existence. Nothing has changed 25 years later, but But yeah, I just remember being glued to the TV the entire day watching this game.
Yeah, same. And it's just like thinking back to it. This legendary Mets performance. It goes down as one of those ones where you're a pitcher, and this is all you needed to do to live forever in Mets fandom.
Bobby Jones. Let's hit play. Got Robin Ventura up.
Oh, I missed that old scoreboard.
Look at that. Fly ball hit deep for right field. Way back it may go. Gone. Home run. A home run. Robin Ventura.
Right off the first there. Look at how young Dusty Baker is.
You're looking at 56,000 deep in Shea Stadium right there.
Absolutely.
Excited fans. Timo Perez is just a little taller than the Bat Boy.
Wild.
Lenny Harris.
Lenny. He was a key spark plug for that team, man. Key spark plug.
Yeah, and Robin Ventura didn't have a great 2000. And here we go. We're on to Bobby Jones.
Strikes out Bonds. Gets JT Snow. Todd Zeal at first.
This is Zeal's, Todd. Yeah, this is Zeal's first go around with the team.
Yep. Doug Mirabelli.
Mirabelli looking. See, I don't remember Mirabelli on the Giants. I remember his Red Sox run. I guess that was after this.
Yeah. Bobby Jones. Let me tell you, I was so excited for him, because he was on, I think we talked about him in that offseason episode that we did. Just such a key. Oh, sit down, Bobby Bonds. That's his
Bobby
dad.
Bonds.
Barry Bonds. Second strikeout there. Such a key player for those really bad 90s teams. And,
Yeah, I didn't realize he was an all-star in 97.
Yeah, he was like 10-1 on the first half of the year, and then he ended the season like 12-7.
So we've moved on to the Jeff Kent hit. We've had it with Jeff Kent already, and even in the replays, he's coming back to haunt us. Love seeing Edgardo Alfonso at second base.
So good. Bobby Jones had that it like would curve. It would look like it's going to hit you if you're a lefty, and then it would just like curve in. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's the old throw it at the hip of the lefty hitter, and it's going to come back in the front door slider or whatever. The cut.
JT Snow.
Snow, there's a guy who was supposed to be a top prospect for the Angels, right?
Yep.
Huge prospect, and never really.
Bobby Jones, 6:42 p.m. The crowd is rocking, man. Look at it; it's so awesome to see.
Even the lazy curve gets a pop up.
Is that Marvin Bernard?
There he is.
Ground ball. We got to look this up. How many pitches he threw, because it was a masterpiece. And I love that Bobby. I can keep calling him Bobby. Barry Bonds makes the final out. Fly ball to Jay Payton.
116 pitches, not bad.
Not bad. Talk about efficient. They let him go. I think this was the first time we heard Who Let the Dogs Out.
And they are heading for St. Louis.
And this is the black jersey Mets. Don't you forget it.
Another reason why we have to bring back the jerseys.
Oh man, how crazy is it seeing the fans like that in this day and age? It's like, oh my goodness. Folks, the goatee.
Look at the ups that Robin Ventura just had.
Don't forget the goatee we'll pause it now. Yep. Don't forget the goatee was popular then. Don't make fun of Robin Ventura. No, don't make fun of Bobby Jones. The goatee was the it thing in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yes. So Bobby Jones, I mean, game of his life there. Personal story. I mean, obviously I wasn't there because I just told you that I was at home, but what was really interesting was my dad went to that game with my Uncle Joe. apparently they had too much scotch that they got from their little flasks. And the way it's told me, I don't know. Apparently my Uncle Joe had to he had taken these the trays from the concession stand. They were sitting in the field level, but apparently the seat broke. So they took those cardboard trays, stacked them up so that my dad could at least sit, balance off the beautiful orange Shea seats. And yeah, apparently, the game ends and, if you'll remember at Shea Stadium, it was ramps. Apparently my dad tripped and actually rolled down.
You could almost make it all the way to the parking lot if you roll enough. But one thing I'll never forget, one of your stories from your dad about sneaking in liquid into Shea Stadium.
Yes.
He would say he would take a water bottle and fill it with alcohol or something like that.
Yes.
And he would say, and I don't know why I'll never forget this, but I need to take my pills. That was his line. That was his line. That's what he told us. And folks, this is what leads you to rolling down the rotundas at Shea Stadium. That's for sure.
Definitely. I'm just looking. Before we went on air, I was showing John this Daily News New York Mets table book that is in honor of their 50th anniversary. There's a section here on this 2000 Mets here. This particular game that we just talked about, Bobby Jones, and this is what the article was written in the newspaper with TJ Quinn, said Bobby Jones, the man with the personality as exciting as his name, was 1-3 with a 10.19 ERA on June 10th, was sent down to AAA to figure out his problems, was nearly cut, but now he'll never be forgotten. So interesting.
Two things there real quick. One, TJ Quinn, it's interesting because he is the one who broke the Balco story or something around Barry Bonds, coincidentally, and the whole Royd situation there. But I was poking around looking for articles, and apparently there is like this, mythical story about Bobby Jones before the game. And it said, this is an article I found online. It said, per Bobby Valentine, on the eve of what was supposed to be the most important game of Bobby Jones' baseball life, Jones's wife, Christy, spoke briefly with the Mets manager. Christy said to Valentine, "Is Bobby pitching tomorrow?" And after he said, yes, he is, Christy said, "You won't be worried. You won't be sorry. He'll pitch the game of his life."
Wow.
So then they say in the game's aftermath, Christie slightly contradicted the Valentine accounting, saying that she had spoken with Valentine, and after being assured that her husband would pitch the game, she said, "Oh yeah, he's definitely ready. It's a guaranteed win, guaranteed." So that's something I didn't know about because I wasn't into the papers and everything then. But that's a cool little story about that.
Definitely. And fun fact, if you're wondering, because we've done some research in our copious spare time, Bobby Jones apparently has a killer barbecue sauce. He has in his post-baseball
Bobby Jones.
He has become like a barbecue master and has this phenomenal barbecue sauce. So yeah, we'll have to give it a shot sometime.
Two future guests of the show, JR, Jim Ross in the wrestling world, and Bobby Jones, the pitcher. So
I like
whoever
it.
comes on first will endorse your barbecue sauce.
So Johnny Ice, I'm going to call an audible here because the next clip here is Game 5 of the NLCS. And that is the night that the Mets went on to obviously clinch the NLCS. Mike Hampton talking about the game of his life. Stellar, complete game. What do you say we change clips and we actually watch the 9th inning together?
Let's take it all the way through. All right.
So on YouTube, it's the 2000 NLCS Game 5. It actually says full game. I don't know how much longer it's going to be on YouTube. But
folks, it's on the official New York Mets channel, by the way. So if you see any weird characters or anything like that, no. The official New York Mets with a little check mark after it.
Fantastic. We're going to fast forward to the 2:35:17 mark.
It always has to end in 17.
Of course. It's a sign. It's a sign. You ready, John?
All right. Count me down.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Right
Who's
before
that angry? Who's that angry in the dugout there?
It's Dave Veras, because right before in that inning before, he threw at Jay Payton. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but hits Jay Payton in the head. Payton bleeds. Benches crawl. Benches empty. No brawl, but a very scary moment for sure.
Craig Paquette looking like Jeff Kent today.
Look at Joe McEwing has to play right field, and and they move Timo to center, and we know that Timo will make the final out. I don't know. Watching it again, I feel bad for Jay Payton because he would have caught that final out.
Yeah. Jim Edmonds on the bench over there.
That was Will Clark. Will the Thrill.
Will Clark. Will
the Thrill.
Paquette. Was
Agbayani.
Paquette part of one of those Oakland St. Louis trades? Because he was like an Oakland prospect at one time, I think.
Yeah.
Was he part of the Mulder or whatever, one of those things? I don't know.
Speaking of Oakland, Oakland, St. Louis, Mark
Big
McGuire.
Big Mac? I forgot. Wow, he was still playing at this time.
Yeah. I think Will Clark had to play because Mac had like foot issues. I think this is his first at bat in the game. 9th inning, 7-0 game. But I think that should have been the warning sign that he was on the juice, because he was starting to fall apart with these random tendon issues.
Yeah, and he's pinch hitting for Jim Edmonds here.
Jeez.
Jim Edmonds, who I feel like has one of the prettiest swings in baseball history. Mark McGuire with a weak ground out to second base. I don't remember this Mark McGuire.
The crowd. Look at the toilet paper.
There's
toilet
paper.
Now in this COVID era, that would be a no-no. That would be like,
that'd be like throwing $100 bills into the audience.
Mike Hampton, I tell you, the acquisition of Mike Hampton was a big deal. Him leaving was, tragic, but it actually paid off because we got David Wright as the compensated pick there. But this was a amazing run for Mike.
Well, if only he knew about the schools in Bronxville, he probably would have stuck around.
Probably would have stayed. Look how many cops are in the dugout. Jeez.
Oh, they're ready. Whoa! All right, Mike, calm down. That was
just a little high.
Excitement. Yeah.
It's like when Johan threw against the final batter, that first pitch way up.
Yes.
I miss those jackets too, with the little blue on the sides.
Oh yeah, the bright ones, the satin jackets.
Yeah.
Edgar Renteria.
Look, Pat Mahomes. There's Lenny Harris.
There's Lenny. When he's not pitch hitting, he's ready to start a celebration at all times. Daryl Hamilton over there,
no longer with us, unfortunately.
Oh man,
tragically passed away, murdered, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah, his wife shot him, and I think she committed suicide afterwards. It's
really
horrible.
Jeez.
There was never a nicer guy than Daryl Hamilton, though. You could see it on the field, but he was a key acquisition. Under the radar. I think this is it. I think this is Rick Wilkins. I missed it. I missed it by a pitch.
I don't know. I think the ump squeezed him. I think the ump squeezed
Fernando
him
Tatis,
future Met there.
So you see Jay Payton with the Band-Aid on his head.
Yeah, you know what? Wasn't a fan of Jay Payton on the team. I think he's another one of those guys that was supposed to be a 5-tool prospect, and
fair.
Not all of those 5 tools clicked at once for me.
That's a fair point. And there it is. I remember saying, Timo, please, you're jumping. Just catch it.
Jumping. Yeah, I'll never forget him catch it while in the air.
For the first time since 1986, the Mets are going to the World Series.
We'll let the dogs out. Goodness.
Bobby J. Jones. That was so cool if the Mets had 2 Bobby Jones on the roster.
When will that happen ever again? Timo.
Look how nice these black jerseys are, man.
Is that Turk Wendell over there?
Turk? Who's it? Rick Reed?
Rick Reed, available in the archives.
Yes.
We touched briefly on Rick Reed's minor league situation there.
Remember Rich Rodriguez, lefty pitcher?
Yeah.
There are some names here, some faces.
Every shot of Bobby V from these things, it must have been really cold because he always had the pink nose thing going on, Bobby V.
Sean Dunston. There's two former Mets in the.
That was right after he was on the Mets.
Yeah.
Sean Dunston.
Yeah,
a real superstar with the Cubs, and then kind of faded out there. Oh, Rick, I can't deal with White.
Hey, listen, fun fact: we were at the game when we acquired Rick White. It was Paul Wilson.
The poor
and
man's
Jason
David
Tyner.
Wells. That's all I could say.
It's Pat Mahomes.
Is that Mahomes?
Senior? Pat Mahomes Senior. Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, who let the dogs out? Oh, look at the excitement for John Franco. Good for him. That was a big deal because I don't think he had been to the playoffs.
No, I don't think
the
so,
year
yeah.
before he was in the playoffs, obviously, and then to get this moment.
When I was looking up Franco earlier, I forgot about his time. He went to the Astros after the Mets for a season or so.
He did.
I was totally surprised.
Yeah, well, he blew a game against the Mets too.
There's Mike Hampton saying, "Man, if only the schools were better in New York, I could stick around a little bit longer."
Look at Daryl Hamilton and Lenny Harris partying. Oh, Jay Horowitz.
There's Jay Horowitz, Ray's icon. That's it. His muse.
Dave Wallace. He was a great pitching coach. I actually miss him.
Yeah, he was a solid pitching coach.
Yeah,
the one thing about these colder games, you don't get the jerseys all over the place in the audience. Everybody's wearing their coats, and because we're in New York, we're known for wearing black coats and black everything. But there's
what do you think they're saying here at Hampton and Peyton? I think Hampton's probably like, I really would have hit him. I really, really wanted to hit him.
Yeah. He's like, I got you, brother. Don't worry about it. I got you.
I got you next season on knowing full well that I'm not going to be on this team, but
exactly.
There's the replay of Timo jumping. Catch the ball.
Timo, who would go on to play in Japan and become an infamous figure.
Timo also has a ring, though, because he was on the 2005 White Sox team that won the World Series.
Really?
So he does have a ring. He learned from 2000, I guess.
Chase that ring, Timo.
Cookie Rojas. You want to talk about a legend. Cookie Rojas was probably one of my favorite third base coaches of all time.
Definitely. Might have been the favorite third base coach of all time.
Remember 99 when he pushed the ump?
Yeah. Cookie. We believe in Cookie. Imagine if we had a coach named Cookie at this point. Oh, my God. There would be memes and everything going on for Cookie Rojas.
Definitely. Look at that. Bobby Jones is for one of the first people to jump in there. They keep replaying the Vance Wilson. We talked about Vance Wilson in our previous episode.
Yeah, there's Al Leiter. What's interesting I noticed is that all these guys are like pretty slim, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's like He-Man jacked or anything like that. 20 years later, the transformation and it's all about, wellness and
yeah, definitely
conditioning. It's crazy.
Robin Ventura giving an interview here. Just looking back at this book that I have here, really interesting. Mike Hampton goes on to win the NLCS MVP. He had not won a postseason game prior to this postseason.
Wow.
All of a sudden turns it up in the NLCS. 16 shutout innings in the series, goes 2-0 with 16 shutout innings. So not bad for someone that had never won a postseason game coming into the NLCS.
And like you said, that's one of the deals that really worked out for us.
Yeah.
I mean,
under the radar too.
Solid.
You kind of forget about that because he was a one and done. I think if he would have stayed in New York for a couple of years, we probably might still be talking about Hampton. Couple of other things here. So Timo Perez, first of all, wait, go back. Mike Bordick looks like David Wright. Does
I
he
was
not?
just gonna say he's David Wright and wearing number 17, which is like two of my favorite things in the whole world put together.
Just not Mike Bordick.
No. Looking like David Wright and being number 17.
We're looking at this book. Timo Perez, was a September call up, and I think people forget that. Like, he was not with the team until September 1st. But he hit 304, scored 8 runs in this particular postseason. When you look at the NLCS, Piazza hit 412 with 2 homers. Todd Zeile with 8 RBIs. That's under the radar. I knew he was solid. I didn't realize that he had 8 RBIs. I mean, Edgardo Alfonso goes on to hit 444. Benny Agbayani's hitting 353 in this series. I mean,
yeah, Benny Agbayani currently giving a post-game interview right now. Like we were saying, it was his best season overall, and he came through.
Look at Daryl Hamilton. You know what? It pains me to actually watch this clip, knowing that he's no longer.
Yeah,
with
you
us.
see such a joy on their faces too. It's sad.
Later in the series or part of the coverage, Timo Perez is quoted as saying, "I'm very emotional. Never thought about playing in a World Series. I saw one on TV. I can't believe I'm in one, and I'm one of the leading guys." And that's Timo Perez quoted in this book here.
Yeah, and then fun fact, this happened the day after my birthday. So October.
Okay.
Ray and I both have October birthdays, and as Met fans, it's not always the most celebrated month, but the year 99, 2000, 2001, those were good times.
The other thing I remember about this is like there were 3 other New York Met fans, 3 other New York Met fans on my floor in this dorm. And I remember 2 of them just getting out. They were a little crazy too, but just taking like beers and shaking them and like just actually like, having them shotgunned and going all over in the, like we were in the, City Field, like we were in the locker room at Shea Stadium. I did not partake in that, but beyond that, it was very quiet. A lot of Yankee fans and a lot of Red Sox fans at the queue during this time.
Yeah, and I would say, despite being in New York and in college in Manhattan, I was definitely the only Met fan around. So I was celebrating this victory on my own. But I do remember being out for the game 5 of the World Series. That must have been a Friday night or a Thursday night. It was something like that. And
yeah, I think it was a Thursday.
It was like straight out of the movies because everybody's cheering for the Yankees and I'm there. And I'm there and just staring at the screen and the last out by Piazza.
Which I honest to God thought was going to be gone.
I thought it was out of here, looking at it and whatever, after a few drinks or just standing there against the wall. And wow, all of a sudden it's like the movies. The spotlight comes on you. Everything else gets blurry and muted. And slowly but surely people would come up and offer their condolences that year.
Oh, it was horrible. Let's go back to the original clip here. We're going to fast forward to, let's see, I got an ad, so, not going to fast forward anywhere.
This video is sponsored by Behind the Bag Podcast.
Very good. Let me get the music going on here. Let's see here. We're going to go to, not that I really want to watch this because now it's just too depressing. But we're going to go to the 8:07 mark. In this clip, it takes you to the game 2, which is a Sunday. So game 1 is Saturday night. I remember coming home. My parents, had a little bit of a watch party with some friends. It was a really big deal to have like Mets, Yankees, World Series. So much of a big deal that I gave up a Saturday night on campus, right? To go home with my parents to watch this at home in New York and be part of it. I really think if we win game 1, this series is different. Who knows if we win it or not, but it pains me that Timo Perez didn't run around the bases on Todd Zeile's shot. And then Armando Benitez just absolutely kills me. And then the actual like cherry on the cake of pain is that ex-Met Jose Vizcaíno gets the winning hit. I mean, you can't write a different script. And
yeah, it was too much pain, and Benitez came back a season after that, and I think we were done with Benitez at that point. And
Game
the gift
two
kept giving.
Game 2 is the Sunday night. It's Clemens Piazza. It's the game that's always going to be remembered as the Clemens throwing a piece of wood at at Piazza. Apparently, this game was 6-0 in going into the ninth inning. So we'll go ahead and hit play. I honestly, I tuned out. I do not remember most of this. But apparently Piazza hits a 2-run shot here off our boy Jeff Nelson. Jeff Nelson killed me. You know, he was so there. He was good. He was a great setup man. You can't say anything.
We prefer the umpire Jeff Nelson as opposed to the relief pitcher.
You think Piazza could run around the bases a little slower? It's like, you know,
who's that on the phone? Who was the pitching coach for the Yankees?
I was like, is that Stump Merrill? I mean, who is that?
He looked like Don Zimmer's younger brother or something like that. My goodness.
Look at Piazza. That ball is inside by like 8 inches. And
he was an underrated bad ball hitter for sure, Piazza. And we'll see that later on too. Oh, that's a hanger. That hung.
This is Jay Payton, right? Are you at the Peyton home run?
I got caught in an ad, but now Peyton's running around the bases.
So Jay Payton hits a 3-run home run off Mariano Rivera, makes it 6-5, and you start to think maybe there is some Mets magic here.
5-run ninth inning.
Don't worry, Kurt Abbott struck out to end the game. So Abbott. Look at John Stearns. I've got a John Stearns story for you. Let's hit pause here. You know, it feels like every week I've got to talk about my internship with the New Haven Ravens, 2003. Probably one of the worst moments I've ever had as an intern.
All right.
2003. The Ravens are playing the Binghamton Mets. John Stearns is the manager. Real serious guy. He was a great third base coach. I remember that from those teams. For those that don't know, John Stearns was the catcher before Gary Carter. And I think he's got that bitterness because he really believes that had his body not broken down, Gary Carter doesn't get traded. And it's John Stearns that's part of those 86, 87, 88 teams. I don't think that's true.
Well, he definitely always had the grumpy face going on. I will say that. He always looked miserable about something. He had that pre-1980s baseball face.
Yes. So we get to it's a doubleheader. The Mets lose the first game, and the media relations guy says, "Ray, go get the lineup from the Mets." So I'm like, okay, I've never done this before, but so I go to the clubhouse, and John Stearns is like upset at the world. They lost, they're miserable. He's staying at the Howard Johnson in Hamden, Connecticut. I mean, there's nothing going for him. So he starts rattling the names of the lineup. He doesn't write it down. He's like, so-and-so's playing first, batting first, playing center field. Right. So I'm taking down notes as fast as I can, and my pen runs out of ink. And so
that's when you have to draw blood on your finger. That's it.
So now I'm sitting there caught between a rock and a hard spot because he just keeps going. And finally he's like at the 7th or 8th batter. And I have to say, Mr. Stearns, I'm sorry, my pen's out of ink. He rolls his eyes, gives me the death stare. Then he takes the pen off his jersey like it's like one of those clip pens, gives it to me. And then just to add a little more salt to the wound, he goes, "Okay, batting first and playing second base." Just to be a beep. I walked out of there like, Oh my God. Like I was like 2 feet tall.
Did they not have lineup cards?
I couldn't tell you.
Well,
welcome to life in the minor leagues, but
that's right. Imagine
team was
back to
awesome.
minors.
Yeah, that team was awesome because Bobby Ojeda was the pitching coach. Couldn't have been nicer, by the way. He signed my book when that series was over. And I was kind of hoping that it was Bobby Ojeda that would have given me the lineup card, not John Stearns.
There you go. And the stature in your head of John Stearns versus Bobby Ojeda will continue.
It will. That's my John Stearns story.
That's it. There's always a story, folks.
All right. What do you say we hit play here?
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Let's hit play.
Oh.
So Jay Payton went the other way, which in Yankee Stadium, you will always hear my beef about right field and how it's about 3 inches away from home plate, but that's okay.
Yes.
That's okay.
Oh, man. And now I'm caught in ads here, but I will say the Mets lose that game 6-5. When it's all said and done, Piazza in his post game doesn't talk about the game as much as he talks about the bat being thrown at his way. He's quoted as going out there and saying that when he threw the bat, I walked out to the mound to see what his problem was. He really had no response. It was bizarre. The next day, Piazza said Clemens appeared unstable. That, ladies and gentlemen, may have been the roid rage that we didn't know existed until years later.
And what? We're on to game 3 now. Is that what you're on to?
We are on game 3 now.
What year was it that Sean Estes got his great revenge on Roger Clemens? Because that just seemed like the most ridiculous thing in the whole world.
Yeah, missed him by a foot
behind him. Oh my God!
Oh, it's El Duque on the mound, October 24th, 2000.
We're getting closer to Ray's birthday.
Yes, we talked about El Duque in our last episode under Omar's tenure, Volume 1. Check it out in the archives, folks.
That was an underrated acquisition, and equally, him being out of the lineup was also underrated.
Yep.
As far as implications.
This is a big game. Obviously, Mets need to win to make it a series, not go down 3-0. El Duque, I think, was like, I'm spitballing. I don't have the numbers here, but I want to say he was like 16-1 in postseason play. I mean, he was unbeatable in the postseason. So you're looking at definitely going down 3-0.
And El Duque was a crazy phenom in New York. I mean, and this was kind of like the beginning of Cuban players coming across, but
look at this. Agbayani ball hits the gap. Todd Zeal chugs from first base.
I mean, chugs. Absolutely.
During the regular year, 3 stolen bases, caught 4 times, not likely to go anywhere. Let's see if there's a hit and run here. Here's the 1-0. Line drive, base hit into left center field. Zeal on his way to third. It's going all the way to the wall. Zeal being sent home by Rojas. Here's the throw. There is no throw. He scores and the Mets lead 3-2. Agbayani at second base and the Mets lead it.
All right, we'll pause it. Mets win game 3. After the game, Bobby Valentine says these guys had a big streak of World Series wins. Maybe breaking the streak was something special. Maybe we can ride the streak for a while. Unfortunately, the while was 24 hours because if I recall correctly, Derek Jeter hits a home run on the first pitch of the game by Bobby Jones in game 4.
And away we go.
By the way, was it NSYNC? Didn't NSYNC do the national anthem for Game 4?
Did they really? See, now that's a fun fact. I would have embraced if I'd known that.
It was either Game 3 or Game 4. I think it was Game 4. I think Game 3 was the Baja man, Mister who let the dogs out. I'm serious.
And you want to talk about huge NSYNC in the year 2000? I mean, that's coming off of No Strings Attached right there.
Big deal. Yeah, it's Dave Justice there. Yeah. I think I'm behind you a little bit, but
where are you at right now?
12:08.
12:08, yeah. You guys just get to 12:30.
I was kind of celebrating, let me have it because nothing else goes right in this series. Denny Nagel. Piazza hits the homer off Denny Nagel.
Denny Nagel, another one I did not like, but I just think it might have been the Yankee uniform at the time.
When I was reading about this post game, researching here, Denny Nagel gets pulled the next time Piazza is at bat, and Piazza pops up against David Cone. So they brought in David Cone out of the bullpen to pitch to Piazza in the fifth, and Cone gets him out, big out apparently.
Yeah, that's his only batter that he faces. David Cone as the specialist for Mike Piazza.
How many other former Mets can cause harm? Jorge Valendia is like in every picture in this. I don't think he played at all that postseason, but he's in everything.
If you're not going to play, get in the camera frame. That's all I can say.
And that does it for this particular watch along. That clip there. I love how the Mets don't even show Game 5.
That's what I was waiting for, homer. And I'm like, oh, I guess this is the Mets recap. I'm like, it's not the Mets highlights. The recap is a recap, but thankfully I didn't have to relive that moment at the bar in the year 2000.
Oh my God, it's so true. Later, just kind of recapping that postseason, obviously the Mets lose the World Series the next night, but in an interview in 2010, so fast forward 10 years, Matt Franco says, we had a great team, great group of guys. We were hot, tough to beat. We had a pretty easy playoff schedule. We played the Giants and Cardinals. There you go, John. We didn't have to go through Atlanta. And the next thing you know, we were in the World Series against the Yankees. We should have won Game 1. We had a late lead, but a base running error by Timo on Todd Zeal's ball. The Clemens Piazza thing was crazy. I was right there in the middle of that. I still get asked about it all the time. People tend to remember that. There was a couple of big boys out there getting ready to go out. There was a lot of testosterone flowing that night, and I wanted no part of it. Matt Franco. He goes on to say that we had a great group of guys. We just had a great mix, good pitching, bullpen. Mike Piazza was our big horse. It was one of those special teams. Lots of guys went out to dinner and lunch together. I think that thing kind of gets overlooked. When guys are hanging together off the field, it means good things on the field. What do you think about that?
That's a great entry. I love that. I think you can't forget what a big deal the Yankees were at this time and what kind of streak they were on and what their starting lineup looked like versus the Mets starting lineup. So, good for Matt Franco, because as a Met, like we were saying, it doesn't take much, and you will be questioned and interviewed for years to come just about these, small highlights over the seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that'll recap 2000. John, where does the 2000 Mets fit for you anyway in Mets history?
Like I was saying, I'm big on the 99 team.
Yeah.
And for some reason, obviously for us, 86, I don't know enough about the 69 team. I didn't live the 69 team. I liked the 86 team. I liked the 99 team. I even liked the 01 team. Something about, maybe it was Jay Payton. I don't know. There's something about certain players on this 2000 team. And then, we were kind of lucky to have a 2006 and a 2015 team.
Yep.
So I think, I think I even put the 2006 team in front of this. That's just, it's different. It's just different talent. And maybe the 2000 team deserves actually more credit for not having as much talent and excelling the way that they did. But just personally, it's, probably it's top 5.
I was thinking, like, in some ways, the 2000 Mets are like the 73 Mets. Like, you went to the World Series. You had to live it to actually, be fond of the team. Like growing up as a kid, my dad never talked about the 73 Mets. It was always the 69 Mets. But you think about the 73 Mets, that was the You Gotta Believe team.
Yeah.
But they're kind of forgotten. And unfortunately, I do think that the 2000 Mets will be forgotten, which is unfortunate because, you had superstars like, well, not superstars, but Mike Piazza was in his prime. He was the star. Maybe it's because they on the field didn't have the characters of like, Todd Zeal and Robin Ventura, or let's face it, they're vanilla. Their personalities are, bland. And that's not a bad thing, but maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Because when I think about the 15 team, like that team will always be my team, even though they didn't win it, because just the resiliency, the stories, Wilmer, the pitching.
Yeah, the story started with Wilmer, far into the season. So there's a story to follow there.
Yeah, and we talked about the 2006 team. I mean, that team, we will do an episode on the 2006 season, but that team is the team that should have won the World Series, but that was a fun season. I know earlier on I said like, hey, that that team was, the 2000 Mets were very constant, the one constant amongst all that change in that period of our lives. But yeah, I do forget about them sometimes. I hate to admit it.
Yeah, and like you said, it's very experiential. So it's us reliving it through the clips. Whereas I feel like with 86, 2000, 2006, 2015, we don't need the clips, and we could just off the top of our heads come through and just talk about the players and who did what that season. But it's important. That's all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Johnny Ice. I think that's going to put a bow on this episode. This was our first watch along. What'd you think?
I thought it was great. I think we have to go YouTube ad free pretty soon, but otherwise I think
next episode we might have to find a DVD. I'll mail you one. I'll mail you a copy.
We're gonna put it in the old VHS. Please be kind. Rewind.
I got to tell you, it's getting late. It was fun talking about it. I'm looking forward to our next episode. So, what do you have to say to our listeners?
See you next week and drive home safe, everybody.
And the girls respond to the call. I have a poor one shout out. Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?